Hi, this is lecture number 3 and today our lecture is dedicated for HTML. In this lecture we will learn about the history of HTML, then document structure, and we will look into some of the example for the tags. We will identify the structure of HTML file. We will look different type of tags and we will see will we need any HTML validation or not. So this is agenda for today. Let's begin. To begin with, HTML history was started in 1989 when 3W was invented by Tim Berners-Lee. And in this slide you can see other stages of the development of HTML. Overall, currently we are following HTML5 and this is one of the latest achievements in HTML history. HTML5 was released in 2008, but all the rules, all the suggestions, all the recommendations were specified in 2014. All the other information about HTML5 and other web standards are given in W3C website. W3C, World Wide Web Consortium, is an international community that develops open standards to ensure the long-term growth of the web. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML is a native language of your web browser for displaying elements. The letter H and T stands for hypertext. How hypertext is different from simple text? Hypertext is a collection of documents containing text, audio, and video information, and hypertext is interconnection, combination of all these items. Markup, the synonym for this word would be to highlight. Markup is to highlight. You mark up the text in the same way you do it in the text editors. To expose headings, to differentiate lists, or to highlight some text in bold, and etc. The letter L stands for language, and that is for language of HTML. In HTML, we write code in English. On the left side of your screen, you can see an example for HTML file. We will discuss all these tags separately in next slides, but for now, you should know that this file in the browser will give us this result. So the HTML file is given on the left side of your screen and the result in the browser is given on the right side of your screen. Besides HTML, in order to develop beautiful websites, web pages, to design and develop them, we need one more concept, and that concept is called CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and that is a set of rules that describe how to display and position an element. If HTML is a skeleton of the website, CSS is the style of website. HTML describes the content and style sheets, and CSS determine how the document looks. Overall, it turns out that CSS is how our HTML is presented. Let me enumerate some of the features of CSS. First, CSS enables to control the display of multiple documents using a single sheet, single table of styles. So using only one CSS file, you can change the style of almost 100 web pages. Second feature, more precise control over the appearance of the pages. So with the help of CSS, you can position elements. You can change the style of elements in any way you want. Feature number 3, complex and well-developed design technique. So all the techniques you use in CSS is complex, however, it is very well developed so that you can achieve the style that you want. Feature number 4, CSS allows to quickly and easily change the appearance of web pages. For example, to change the background color of 100 web pages, you will write only one line and that can be enough, which is very quickly. Feature number 5. As the volume of documents becomes smaller, the time for loading them decreases. Just think about any image, think about some big content in your web page. With the help of CSS, you can make the size of that documents, the volume of the documents smaller, so that it will be easier, it will be faster to open that web page. As you remember, in our previous slides we have seen HTML file on the left side of your screen and the result on the right side of your screen. In this slide we can see some web page which was developed with the help of not only HTML but also CSS. So by adding CSS to our HTML we can achieve such beautiful sites. So whenever you see in the slide such icon, globe icon with the text written link, you can click on that link so that you can go to the website, read some materials and have better understanding. HTML and CSS file that is developed by web developer can appear differently in different web browsers. Why is that? Because each browser uses its own engine. For example, Chrome uses Chromium engine and Internet Explorer and Mozilla Firefox uses totally different web engines. So in order to understand the difference in the appearance of our web pages, let's understand the history of browsers. In 1993, Netscape Navigator was introduced. When this web browser introduced, it was very popular and widely used by all users of the internet. 1 year later, in 1994, Internet Explorer was introduced. Internet Explorer also was very popular, and sometime later, in 2002, 96% of users were using Internet Explorer. Only 4% of users were using Netscape Navigator. That is why Netscape Navigator had to give up and it stopped to be used by users. After some time, in 2004, web browser called Mozilla Firefox was introduced. In the same year, Opera web browser was introduced. In 2008, you can see that Google Chrome was introduced. Besides Windows platform, we have macOS platform. In macOS platforms, by default, users use the web browser called Safari. And we also have some developed advanced version of Internet Explorer, which is called Microsoft Edge. Let's see the statistics. Starting from September 2016, you can see that Chrome web browser is dominating. It is taking almost half of the market share, which is 50%. Other market share belongs to internet web browsers such as Safari, UC Browser, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, and others. What about platforms? In this graph, you can see the market share of desktop, mobile, and tablet devices. Green color indicates mobile users. So, mobile users take 50% of market share, while desktop users take almost 46% of market share. The lowest market share belongs to tablets, which is not even 5%. Why we need this information? Whenever we are developing our website, we should think about our users. So currently, most of the users are using mobile phones. That's why our websites should be responsive. Our websites should be adapted to mobile phones, and our website should be easy to surf, to use from mobile phones. Now we are starting the introduction to HTML. In your screen, you can see the example for simple HTML file. In this HTML file, you can see some written code. In this code, we can see tag called doctype HTML, and we can see some tag which is called HTML, head, and body. Before exploring HTML file, first of all, let's understand what is tag. Tag is a special control code written in angle brackets. If HTML is a markup language, then tag is a markup element. Tags on the page are displayed in a converted form. What does this mean? This means that after you write some .html file with this kind of tags, this HTML file, when appeared in the web browser, is converted into a web document, and that web document is displayed on your web browser. You will not see any href or closing A. What you will see is the content itself. So let's explore the breakdown of an HTML tag. As an example, I have taken a tag, which stands for anchor, which gives us in HTML file simple link. Overall, this item is called element. This element contains attribute. The attribute has its name, attribute name, and attribute has its value, attribute value. In our case, attribute name is href and attribute value is value.us. Besides attribute, let's see the opening and closing tag of A. The difference between opening and closing tag can be seen in slash. So anchor tag is opened with opening angle bracket. After I write A, I can include attribute, and after that I include content inside this A tag. After content is finished, I close this tag by adding slash before A. So this is the overall breakdown of an HTML tag. Generally, tags are divided into paired and unpaired tags. How they are different? In the previous example, we have seen a tag. The same can be said about div, span, header, and a. So in paired tags, we have opening and closing tags. In paired tags, tags are paired. Tags have opening and closing tags. Besides these tags, we have many more paired tags. What is unpaired tags? In unpaired tags, we don't have pairs. We don't have opening and closing tags separately. An example is BR, which stands for break, for new line. So what we do is we open angle bracket, write the name of tag, which is BR, we put slash, and we put closing angle bracket. As you can see, in unpaired tags, tag name is not repeated twice. We have many more unpaired tags which you can explore later. Tag attributes can use default values. In previous slide, we have provided example of anchor tag. In anchor tag, we had attribute name called href and the value was value.us. We have provided attribute name and attribute value. But please observe this case. In input, we are providing attribute name, attribute value. Attribute name is type, attribute value is submit. We have other attributes that do not require any value. An example is disabled. We are just including the name of the attribute and that is enough. So there are some other types of attribute values. The order of the attributes in any tag does not matter and does not affect the result of displaying the element. So you can provide, for example, these attributes in any order. First of all, name, then row, then column is totally fine. Let's see the attribute format. Attribute format can be in the form of text. For example, here we have passing type equals to password. This is simple text. Attribute value can be in the form of number. Here we are giving rows equals to 10. Attribute value also can be in the form of links. Please pay attention. Here we are saying image source is equals to image/girl.png. Attributes can be located in one line or in several lines. The main condition is the presence of a separator character. So writing attributes in one long line and writing attributes separately in each line is the same approach. However, preferably it is better to write the attributes in one line, just as it's indicated right here. We have one more attribute, data. This attribute is an attribute that allows you to store various information that can help in the work of scripts, as well as for designing elements via CSS. Think about any form. In the forms we have, for example, input field for first name and input field for last name. You can use first name value and last name value and store it in the database or do some other operations. That can be achieved with the help of data attribute. Now let's explore document structure. Document structure of any HTML document will look like the following. Let's explore one by one. So in our HTML document we have started with tag doctype.html. This doctype.html determines the encoding of document, what rule, what format this HTML file follows. Doctype.html means that our HTML following the rules of HTML5. So include this tag at the very beginning of your .html file. After doctype.html we have tag named HTML. This HTML is the parent of all childs in my .html file, which is the most important tag. HTML, as you can see, contains two child tags. First tag is head and the second tag is body. Head is used for header section. The content does not appear on the page but affects the display of body. What does this mean? Whatever you write inside head is not displayed on your browser. However, inside this head you can write some title, you can write some style, and you can write some meta text so that it will influence the appearance of your web page. The next tag is body tag. Body used for the body part of your document. Whatever you write inside body will appear on your browser. Here, what appears in our web browser is the word heading and two paragraphs, first paragraph and second paragraph. Inside head we have seen the title tag. Title is the document title, displayed in a tab, in a search engine, etc. The link is used to connect external files to the document. That external file can be in the form of CSS, in the form of icons. Meta tag is used for information for browsers and search engines, what keywords you use and what encoding you are using. Also, script can be included in the head. Script is for connection of external scripts. An example for the scripts would be JavaScript file. Body tag, as I have mentioned already, is where the information that will be displayed on the screen, including lists, headings, menus, paragraphs, pictures, is written. If I have a style, CSS style, how can I add that CSS style to my HTML file? There are different ways. Approach number one is called inline style. Inline style is inner style for the element. How I can achieve that? The style attribute sets the style parameter for a specific element. Let's say that element in our case is simple div. Think about div as a container, as a wrapper for your elements. In our case, we are using inner style with the help of style attribute. We are saying, hey div, your background color from now on will be red. And if you write inside div, for example, hello world, the background color of that hello world becomes red. So this is inline style. What is bad with this approach? This approach is one of the earliest, one of the first approaches, and it is pretty outdated. It is recommended not to use such approach, not to use inline style. We have approach number 2, which is internal style. Using the style tag, the style can be applied to any part of the HTML document. That part in our case is again div. If you remember, head tag contains the tags which is not appeared in the browser. So that's why I can write this style inside head tag. Pay attention that I'm doing almost the same, but now I'm writing not HTML but CSS code. In CSS code, I will write the name of the element, and inside curly brackets, I will write the style that I want to apply to that element. In this situation, I'm saying to set background color red of element with the name div, and I will achieve the same result again. However, this is also not the best approach. What is the best approach? The best approach is to have external style via an external file inserted inside head. For example, you have two files. First file called home.html, second file called style.css. And that style.css is located inside CSS folder separately. The style sheet is stored in a separate file with extension .css, which is linked to the HTML document using the link tag. That separate CSS file can be linked, as you can see here, inside head tag. Inside head tag you will write link, and you will define rel style sheet because you are using style sheet element, and you will define the path. You will define where exactly your CSS file located. In my case, my styles.css file is located in the folder CSS, and its name is styles.css. So you will write href css / styles.css. So whatever style you want to apply, you will write in that .css file. An example is provided here. In my styles.css, I have the following style: div, background color red. And this is recommended as the right approach. We have one more approach, and that is called import. Inside your .css file, you can use this import via the import rule inside CSS. You can import the contents of the CSS file into the current style sheet using the import command. Let's say I have styles.css, and in that styles.css I want other styles to be applied. Which styles? For example, all, some other styles called hand, and then print.css. So with the help of import, I will use 3 more styles. What about JavaScript? How I can add JavaScript to my HTML file? Approach number 1. Anywhere in the HTML file with the help of script tag. In any place of your HTML file, you can write script tag, and inside that opening and closing script tags, you can write your JavaScript code. However, this is considered as the wrong approach. Approach number 2. Via an external file. Access to the external file is provided using the source attribute. When the source attribute is specified, the contents of the tags are ignored. What does this mean? As you can see in this opening and closing script tags, we don't have any content. That's why this is ignored. So the logic is inside opening and closing head tags, you will write script src, and you will declare the folder. After that you will put slash, and you will write the name of the JS file. As you may observe, we have a little bit mistake right over here, because head tag is opened, and then while closing we forgot to include slash. Now let's explore tags. When HTML was created, developers, professionals of HTML, had an idea of having more meaningful, more purposeful tags for each type of situations. For example, whenever you want to write some heading, some big text, some important text in your HTML, you can use H1 and H6 tags. Whenever you want to have lists, you can use UL and OL tags, which stands for unordered and ordered lists. For the tables, it may be quite obvious, you can use table tag. For the forms, you have form tag, and to show images, you will use IMG tag. Please notice that form table ULs are paired tags, they have opening and closing tags. IMG is unpaired tag, it doesn't have closing tag separately. Links uses A, which stands for anchor, and it is paired tag, it has opening and closing tags. We have many other more tags. Let's start from headings. Headings can be declared using H1 and H6. HTML offers 6 headings of various levels that show the relative importance of the section after the heading. So the H1 tag represents the most important heading of the first level. It can appear on the page only once. And the H6 tag serves to indicate the heading of the 6th level and is the least significant. Please notice that first heading, the most important heading, has the biggest size. However, the least significant, the least important tag, which is H6, which is the last heading, has the smallest size. Then we have lists. There are two types of lists, unordered and ordered lists. Each list item must begin with a li tag. You can put inside it anything you like, including one more list. But child of the lists can only be li item. So you can notice that UL stands for unordered list. U is the first letter of unordered. OL stands for ordered list, and O is the first letter of ordered list. Let's see the example. Here we have created an ordered list. So the child elements of our list should be li item. Here you can see 4 list items. All items are enumerated. And the last child number 4, list item, contains itself another list. So this list is ordered list. In this ordered list we have 3 more items. Again, all the children elements are created with the help of li elements. You can observe the difference between unordered list and ordered list. In unordered list, in your web browser, by default, what you see is fillet circle. However, with the help of CSS, you can change the appearance of these bullet points. This is by default for unordered list. For ordered list, you can see that items are numbered 1, 2, and 3, even though I'm not using any numbers right over here. Putting numbers for ordered list is by default. Next we have table tag. Any table consists of rows and cells which are set using the tags tr, td, and th. We have some other attributes including row span, which is number of merged cells row by row, and we have col span, number of merged cells by columns. TR stands for table row, TD stands for table data, and TH stands for table heading. Let's see an example. In this example, we have opened a table tag and we have closed it. Inside this table tag, we are declaring an attribute border1 so that our table appears with some border. Then we have the caption, the text, the explanation for the table name. In our case, table name is population. Then we have open tr tag, which stands for table row. We are creating a row. In this row we have 5 cells. So each cell is declared with TH, that stands for table heading. Note all 5 elements which is given as table heading appears right over here. So we have one table row. Inside that one table row we have 1, 2, 3, 4, overall 5 cells. 5 cells are given and this row is finished. That's why we are closing TR, table row. And we have started new row, table row again. That table row contains 5 elements. So pay attention to this content of table data, content of cells. We are in the second row, so first cell of second row, 1, 1, 1 and 1. However, right over here we are declaring 2, which means the item number 5 right over here will take 2 rows. We are opening new row right over here. In that row we are declaring 4 cells, 2, 2, 2 and again 2. These 4 numbers are given and we are not declaring anything as fifths, because fifth item is already taken by previous row. It is taking 2 rows. Then we are starting the last row, row number 3. Right over here, pay attention, we have 4 items, 3, 3, 3 and again 3. However, in the last cell, cell 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, we are declaring some attributes. We are writing call span number 2. What does this mean? We are saying, hey, last cell, you will take 2 columns, column 4 and column 5. That's why it is taking 2 columns. And we are declaring one more attribute, which is align center. That's why you can see some difference between 1 and 3. 1 is aligned to the left by default, however 3 is not staying as aligned to the left like other numbers. It is aligned to the center. Another tag is called form. A form is a set of fields for entering text, commands and others, the contents of which are returned to the server at the direction of the user. The server further processes the information and, if it is necessary, returns answers to the user. An example for the form is provided here. Form is paired text. We have opening tag for form, we have closing tag for form. Inside that form, we have input fields. Think again about some form, for example, your first name, last name. In addition to that first name, last name input field, you can have other type of input fields. In our case, we have radio buttons. So whatever item user chooses is declared right over here, and we have one more input, which is submit, and by default it is button. So whenever button clicked, whatever items that has been chosen is sent to the server. Here you can see other elements of form, one of which is legend. Another one is called field set. We have label, and we have input text field, and we have buttons. For writing text, we have text area. For choosing some option, we have select and option text. And later, you can find many more tags inside form. Another tag is for image. For image, we use img tag. This img tag can be used in combination with other attributes, so at the end we will see some image in our browser. As an example, here we are providing src attribute as a source for our image. Source can be some URL, HTTP URL, or it can be the path, it can be the folder for your image. For example, it can be images/myuniversity.png. So in this case, we are taking an image from some website and we are showing the source for that image. The next attribute is width. We are declaring that the width of an image should be 300 pixels. Height of the image also 300 pixels. And we are providing alt text. Alt is short for alternative. Whenever user has some problems with the internet, whenever there is some problem with the image itself, for example, website deleted this image and you cannot obtain that image from the website, or whenever user has some difficulties or our user is visually impaired person and that person wants to identify what is in this image, this alternate text will be useful. So instead of showing the full image, what we provide is the content, the description of the image. For example, we are providing some article, that's why alternative text, alt text for the image would be an article from website. This alt text can be longer so that image will be more descriptive. If internet speed and other criteria are totally fine, overall you will see an image of width 300 pixel and height 300 pixel, and you will see the whole image. Another tag is called A. This A tag is for anchor. This A tag is for links. A contains attribute called href. In href, you will provide the URL, you will provide the link. For example, in our case, we are saying vayu.uz. Whenever user clicks this text link to some website, vayu.uz webpage is opened in new tab. Another use case for A would be the following. Let's say you have some part in your body and you named it as top. And whenever user surfing the bottom of your web page and he or she wants to go to the top part of your web page again, at the bottom of your web page you can write href hashtag top, and whenever user clicks this text, user goes to the top part of your web page. In text formatting, we have two types of formatting. First of all, we have logical text formatting. Logical markup texts are responsible for the value of an element more than for appearance. Some of them do not affect the display of text by the browser, while others perform actions similar to physical formatting text. Different browsers interpret the same logical style text differently, and these tags are period tags. Let's say you want to show some code in your web browser. In that case, code tag is helpful for you. Or you want to make some text strong, you want to highlight some text, in that case use strong tag. Or if you want to emphasize, if you want to differentiate some text in your HTML file, use em tag. You have some citations, you have some quotes from famous authors. In that case, block quote tag will be useful for you. Another type of text formatting is called physical text formatting. Let's say you want to make your text bold. In that case, you should wrap your text with B tag. If you want to make your text in italics, you should wrap your text with I tag. If you want to write in small letters, you can wrap your text inside small tag. In mathematical equations, we have x squared when we want to write on top of x. In that kind of situations, you will just write x and you want to display x squared. For example, plus 1 is equals to 0. In these situations, what you need to do is the following. In HTML, you will just write x, and this 2 is not in the same line as x. So that's why what you do is x, and you open sub, and inside this sub you will declare simply 2 and you close this sub. As a result, what you see in your web browser is not x2 but x square. This is sub, which stands for superscript. What about sub? So sub is for subscript. Let's say you have logarithm and as a base you want to declare some value. Let's say log as a base 5. Again, 5 is not in the same line as log. 5 is below, on the bottom of log. So in the HTML, what you do is you will simply write log, and after this log, you will open sub. And after this sub, you will declare the base number, which is 5. And you close this sub. So overall, what you see in the result of your web browser is not log 5, but log as a base 5. What about the structure and flow in HTML? Please pay attention. On the right side of your screen, you can see HTML code. On the left side of your screen, you can see the appearance of your items. Of course, it will not appear by default like this, but we are just using as an example. So what we have right over here is header tag, and header tag contains h1 and some navigation. And after my header tag is closed, what I have is main section. In the main section, I have sections that contains article. Article consists of h2 and paragraph. After article is finished, my section is finished as well, and I have a side tag. In a side tag, I have sections that consist of heading and unordered list. And overall, after section, aside, and main closed, I have some footer. So as the result, what we will see is, first of all, our header appears, then our navigation appears. Then what we see is our big section that consists of article and consists of aside inside of main. And at the very bottom we have footer. Do some Google search, do some reading to identify why I need at all this header, nav, main, footer, section, aside, article, video and audio tags. We have some other tags including time, canvas and source. Actually, these tags are called HTML5 tags. HTML5 tags are very useful for semantics. Semantics is taken from the word meaningful, so it is for the meaning. As you can see, it is very easy to identify where is my header, where is my main, where is my footer. If I use a div, I would achieve the same result. My website would look in the same way. However, my friend, my teacher, or other web developers would have some trouble, would have some difficulty to identify how this div is different from div at the bottom. So instead of a lot of divs, it is better to have these header, nav, main, footer tags. These tags are self-explanatory, so I encourage you to do some Google search on semantics and about HTML5 tags. What about flow? It is the order in which items are displayed on the page. So it is about the sequence, which item appears first and which item appears last. The layer located at the very top of the code will appear before the layer in the code below. Such logic makes it easy to predict and manage the output of elements. Pay attention, right over here I'm ignoring head because head is not displayed on the browser. However, what happens is in my .html file, browser first of all will render my head and will start to render the section of body. First browser will read header, then browser will render section, then browser renders aside, and browser renders footer. Appearance is also the same. First of all, header appears, then section appears, then aside appears, then footer appears. As you can see, the flow, the appearance is from top to bottom. However, the appearance of items can be changed. With the CSS code, you can do so that a side item appears before header. It can be achieved with the CSS. So this is also your homework. Do some Google search on that to identify how to change the flow, how to change the position of elements in HTML. But by default, keep in mind that browser will display the items in HTML from very top to the bottom. Now let's start to explore type of text. Overall, generally, we have simply two types of tags in HTML. First type is called block elements. These elements are displayed as rectangles, going one after another, top to bottom. Such an element occupies the entire available width. The height of the element is determined by its content, and it always starts from a new line. Pay attention, first item is not going in combination with second line. First item is taking the full width of web page. No matter how much width is required, block elements takes the full width. By default, the style for block elements is display block. What about inline elements? So the second type of tags in HTML is inline element. These are elements of the document that are directly part of the line. These elements are arranged one after another in one line. If they do not fit, then it is moved to another line. So as you can see, compared to block elements, inline elements are not taking the full width. They are just taking the width which is important to their content, and they are going in one line with other elements. Whenever there is no space in this line, the item is moved to the next line. What are block elements? An example are given here. Div, header, footer, nav, section, article, aside, address, form, h1, h6, paragraph, ul, and li items are block level elements. What are inline elements? Anchor, bold, italic, label, and span elements are inline elements. So now we reached HTML validation. HTML validation is a check of a document by a special program, a validator, for compliance with established web standards and detection of existing errors. These standards are called specifications, which is developed by the World Wide Web Consortium. The work of the validator is as follows. First, the type of the document is determined, indicated using doc type, and then the HTML code is checked for correctness and absence of errors. At the same time, the correct use of tag name and their nesting is also checked. You can check the validness. You can validate your web pages with the help of validator.w3.org. Go to this website, upload your .html and CSS files, or just add the URL to your website to see how valid are your web pages. The main validations are for syntax validation. Also, validation is for checking the nesting of tags. Validation is also for checking the document type definition. Also, validation can be for checking extra elements. If at least one of the checks fails, this means whole HTML is considered invalid. There are arguments that supports validation, and there are arguments that contradicts, that says validation is not important at all. The main argument for HTML validation is cross-browser support. What does this mean? Valid HTML file that passes all the tests of validator supports all the browsers. No matter I open your web page with the help of Firefox, Chrome, or with the help of Internet Explorer, it is appearing correctly, it is appearing in the same way. That means your HTML pages are valid, that means validator is important. However, validation is too strict and does not match how browsers actually work. You may have too many errors and you may spend a lot of time to check all the errors given by validator. Is it worth it to validate documents? The answer is yes, because it helps to identify existing flaws and it helps to write the correct code. Correcting errors, achieving full compliance with the standards, or leaving them for compatibility with different browsers. Everyone decides for himself what goals he pursues and what is more important for him. That is about the company you are working, or that is about the requirements that you have. Additional information is given in the website w3schools.com. This website is also very helpful to learn the basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and many more web technologies. Here you can see some links which is helpful for you to do some extra reading. All the text, all the attributes, all the information I have provided earlier is given in more detail in these links. We have some guidelines for following for writing better code in HTML and CSS, which is called HTML CSS Guide, that can be obtained with this link. You can see some webinars and some other information about web development in these links. Our lecture is finished. Thank you for your attention.